So we are back with Lisa Waters Lane in the studio. She comes each week with your garden questions. Just what are your neighbors talking about? And lots of gardeners are coming in now. So we're
Mm-hmm.
seeing them at the garden center in between cold and warm. And every time it's above like 55,
Yeah.
there's a flood of the parking lot starts to fill. Otherwise, it's like, where is everyone? Echo, echo.
Get projects done.
You get to spend lots of time. If you want great service at a garden center, go in the morning or when it's a little cold, any kind of a cloud is in the sky. That's enough to keep Prescottonians from showing up or going outside for the day.
Yes.
So, but you get extra
Mm-hmm.
energy, time, focus.
Oh, you bet.
So, anyway, it's just a good time. So,
Yeah.
welcome back to studio, Lisa.
Thank you. Good
What kind of garden questions we got this week?
Well, you bet. So Shannon in Prescott wants to know, when is the best time to plant peonies,
Oh,
and can they go into a full sun spot?
oh, sure, Shannon. Hey, great question. So, peonies they're a spring a perennial. That is, they come back every year and they get this beautiful, great big, like rose sized flower to it. Typically have more petals than a
Mhm.
rose and super fragrant. That peony fragrance is over the top. They get about what is knee high or so. I guess it depends on the model. So the English peonies get about knee high or so.
Right.
And the more sun you give a peony, the better, the more flowers you'll get. So there's a photosynthesis thing that happens. So some of the really big ones I notice, like the Ito peonies, we've grafted a tree peony, no, an English peony onto a tree peony root, and so you get this big. It's like an English peony on steroids. It's real. The flowers are 3 times the size. They're huge and they're funky colors like yellows. You just don't see yellow
Right.
in a peony, but you do with Itos.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those, sometimes they'll take full sun, but the leaves are so big that sometimes they benefit from a little protection underneath the tree or something. Not really for the flower, but it keeps the summer hail off of the foliage. It's not going to make any real difference to the flowers and stuff, but I would say give it at least 6 hours of sun. A peony needs at least 6 hours of sun to produce any kind of flower. Otherwise, they'll tend to lean and kind of fall over and stuff, and they'll need a cage and all this other stuff. You and I, we grow some Ito peonies in containers of all things, and they've been in there for years. They're beautiful on a south-facing wall, up against the house, reflective heat. It's glorious.
Yeah.
So they'll take full sun, and now's the time. So you want to get peonies in before they really start to erupt. Their eyes are starting to show from the bucket. So they hibernate underground and then they'll come back fresh every spring. Anyway, their eyes are just starting to show up. You want to grab those early. You get best selection. Like we just had our first crop of peonies. Maybe there's, I don't know, 50 or 60 of them. I don't know. There's a bunch, just table filled with them. And then in a couple weeks, I think I read an article on how to grow peonies. And then that weekend, it'll just be like this flood. They'll all be gone because the crop is limited. And so you kind of want better selection. You grab them early. Don't wait until they're in bloom. I'm going to wait till I see the flowers. There won't be any left by then. So those you want to shop early, get them in the ground, and then you'll have less transplant shock as they grow.
Okay. So now,
can I give one other? Can I give one other to Shannon because she's growing them? Drainage. Peonies have this real fleshy root, which is why they're so robust. Make sure that soil drains, and so that's kind of personal advice. Just school of hard knocks.
That's very good advice. Very good advice. Okay. So Dan is in Chino. He's put in a raised garden bed for vegetables. It's about 3 feet tall.
Ooh,
his question is, because he doesn't want to
you're gonna have to climb up into the bed.
His question is, for the bottom part of that, can you just put in crummy fill soil, or do you need to do the whole thing with good soil?
Yeah. So no, I would not put crummy. The reason you have a raised bed, come on, Dan. The reason you got a raised bed is because your soil is so rough. Those new subdivisions out in Chino Valley, they're beautiful. The vistas are gorgeous. The dirt is horrible, just terrible. I don't know how you grow anything in there. And so you're abandoning that soil so that you can have better soil, better drainage. And so don't curse yourself by refilling that thing with crummy soil. Now, some of your rock yards, they've got what's called a garden mix. Okay, it's silt. They're digging out stock tanks because we're in ranch country. And so they got this rich silt, which doesn't drain. So they add wood chips and manure to it because those are both free products. They call it garden mix. It's terrible to grow in, but it's great filler. I would get a load of garden mix from any of your soil folks. There's plenty in Chino. Just get them anywhere. And then I would take the top layer of that, and I would add that top layer. I would put Waters potting soil. Our grower came up with that, and it's our grower's mix. So cuttings, seed, things that are started, we'll start that in that mix. And plants don't like a difference. They don't like different soils. And so make sure you have the same kind of soil that seedling, the starter mix. That same starter plant goes into the same kind of soil, and it'll just take off and grow for you. So I would take that top 6-8 inches of that raised bed and put Waters potting soil, because you're going to get 100% growth rate. They're just going to grow. You could add your seed, your radishes right in there. Probably start right now, and you'd get radishes in like 3 weeks. They grow so fast. Lettuce the same way. So take the top layer and have really good stuff. The filler with just a garden mix. Did I help Dan out? Did I cover everything?
I think so. So if they do a good 6 to 8 inches of good soil on top, like the Waters potting soil, you really don't need to add anything else to that, right? You're just good to go. So, but if you're doing a bed that's been in the ground 3-4 years, you've been planting in it, then you would want to add like manures, perlites, those kind of things.
For a brand new bed. So he's just filling up a 3-foot bed, and he needs a lot of soil. So that was advice for Dan in Chino Valley. For those that already have raised beds and you want to freshen that up, plants use up the soil that they're growing in, so that you'll actually see the soil disappear. It doesn't blow away. It actually just disappears because the plants are using the energy out of that soil. Well, as it takes from the soil, you need to replenish that for the next year's crop. So every year you're probably topping that bed off with Waters potting soil. It's peat moss, perlite. It's all the good stuff you want in a soil mix. You can add it for really big beds. Manure. Manure is great. We have a barnyard manure. It's a deodorized. Let's face it, folks. Poop is gross. Let's just face it. We created a poop that isn't gross. It's like a compost, but it's still got the nitrogen. It's still got that vitality stuff. And so you could put a 2-inch layer on top of that raised garden bed or any garden bed, whatever it is. Blend it down to 1 shovel's depth, about 8 inches or so. I would at the same time add some fertilizer, some plant food. We make a fruit and vegetable food that's designed specifically for growing fruits and vegetables. It's got a lot of calcium in it. And so before I blend it, I would put my manure down about a 2-inch layer, and then sprinkle some of this vegetable food on top. Then take your shovel, turn it back and forth. And then you're ready to start planting. I would say you could start planting. I mean, the weather's going to turn nice by March. I mean, we'll get some cold nights where it goes down to mid-20s, but it pops right back up really quick to warm. So plants they're actively growing right now. So I would say you can go for it. Yeah.
And we do have a lot of our spring veggies. And
they're in herbs.
Got some beautiful Swiss chard up there. It's so pretty. So a lot of stuff you can put in now if your beds are ready, and that way you can enjoy it in the spring.
Two questions this week. We're out of time. So we've got peonies with Shannon and raised beds for Dan. Appreciate the questions, you folks. Be right back right after this.